Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I want to say thank you so much for joining me on this evening of Talk and Sip, Saturday night, 9th of the 9th, 2023. And for those joining me on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, I want to thank you so much for joining. And let's have a good show tonight. And as you can see, I sort of set the stage, and the stage has been set regarding the narrative, which is, as you can see, truth in politics, government transparency, and distractions. Right? Truth in politics, government transparency, and distractions. And I won't go into the drinkers yet or so, but I just want to go straight into the narrative of something which I've been noticing as much as possible. And this is not just something for Jamaica, while my emphasis might be on Jamaica, but it's an emphasis for the world, you know? And ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, viewers from around the world, um, and welcome to a thought provoking journey tonight and beyond into the heart of our political landscape with the focus on Jamaica. And with tonight, as we embark on a quest to unravel the intricate web of the truth in politics, delving deep into the realm of analyzing government, as they would say. And let me just turn this down because sometimes you got copyright issues, you know. So let me just take off the music. Let's just deal straight with the issues at hand. Yeah. Embark on a quest to unravel the intricate web of truth in politics. Yeah, and thank you so much for that. And into the realm of and distraction in an age where information is abundant yet upon and often obscured by the shadow of misinformation, disinformation, and political maneuvering. It has never been more crucial to understand the concept of truth in our political discourse. The world of politics, with its vast array of promises and policies, is a landscape where transparency should be the bedrock of trust. We'll explore the fundamental importance of government transparency and accountability, examining the ways in which it shapes our societies and influences our decisions. But amidst the quest for truth, we cannot ignore the persistent presence of distractions that often divert our attention from vital issues. We'll attempt to unravel the art of political distraction. Is it political distraction? Is that a part of a strategy? The 9 day factor, 6 days? Some say not even any days. The strategies employed and the consequences it has on our collective understanding of the truth as we navigate this intricate terrain. Goal is clear, definitely, to empower you, the viewers, with the knowledge and insight needed to navigate the complex world of politics with clarity and discernment. Not just going for the noise, not just going for the likes, not just going for the viral factor, not just that. Welcome to the Truth in Politics, analyzing government transparency. And it is clear there are many things happening and questions asked. Why they shut up nationwide? Was it fake or true? Those are the questions asked. Was it because of the utterances of the General Secretary? But then, what is free speech? What about SSL, that company where them said thief up Usain Bolt money, and many others, not just Usain Bolt? How do one justify the people or tell the people to keep it afloat, or is it the government? But wait, isn't the government for the people and they should be one? And also, what about the proceeds of crime? Where was this money? Is it not now the people's money? Who regulate and oversee that money? How accountable is the government? And have they signed a code of conduct? And who are the six investigated for illicit enrichment? Just dropping that one in. Is there the need for righteous government? That's the question. I'm going to bring in my good friend O'Neill. You know, hey O'Neill, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing excellent. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly. Um, you, you normally have a brighter light, or so. What happened to your bright light today?
I'm the bright light, Silverin.
You are, yeah, I like that one. You're the bright light.
The bright light. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. It's, as you can see, I'm in my t-shirt because the door is open, man. I think some bats are coming in because it's very hot in the UK. It's what, 32 degrees it was today. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is now, but um it's, well, it's 24 now, but it has been hot all day. And every day, only for the past few days, they kept saying this is the hottest day of the year. And then the next one said this is the hottest day of the year. No, they said this is the hottest day of the year. So I give up. What is hottest day of the year?
But I forget that there's a lot of houses in the UK without air conditioning.
Yeah, we don't.
You better put the fan on. So it's good. But I sort of want to take you off for 2 minutes of your monologue
Yes,
to sort of highlight a couple of things that happened in Jamaica that super proud of,
yes,
and it connects to the music.
yes,
Because I think the music of Jamaica and the culture of Jamaica has sort of expanded in every corner of the world. And
yes,
there were 3 albums. I don't know if you're paying attention to them. There are 3 albums that dropped. Beenie Man dropped this album Simmer, which is a really, really, really good body of work, and just showed his vitality. It showed, he's been going on for what, 3-4 decades.
yes.
You just saw his range. Great album, and I would recommend.
Mm,
And the second one, Buju Banton, Born for
yeah,
Greatness, came out. Uh, I think 17 really good tracks, and you just see the evolution of Buju. He was
yes,
incarcerated for 10 years, and you just see the range. I think this album is probably one of his best albums. So again, I would recommend, let's support our artists and go out and get it. And one that I was not tracking, Richie Spice, came
yes.
out. Black Man Time is what
Mm,
the title of his album. But I'll tell you, some really good tracks on there. He has a cover of Lionel Richie, All Night Long, the
is
Jamaica
it?
reggae version of it. And I'll tell you, Silverbrand, I recommend those 3 albums. I forecast, because I don't predict, that these 3 albums will be a Grammy nominated album. Unfortunately, they cannot all 3 win, but
When?
it just tells you, people talk about the culture, the stuff that are going on in Jamaica, but music is at heart of our culture. And I just want to celebrate these 3 Jamaicans that are doing really, really well. And in the last bit, I will say the one other musician that I've sort of got into is Skeng. And I know a lot of folks are on Skeng, but we just have to give him his time. Let him sort of say his bit. You'll see the evolution, because the reason I brought it up, if you look at Buju, when Buju came out, he was raw, right?
Yes.
Wanted to tell the people. And the same thing with Skeng. Skeng need to tell his story, so we just let him tell his story. I mean, he's going to evolve as an artist. So I want to highlight that, because the Jamaican culture is adopted worldwide, and our music is sort of the ingredients for a lot of things. Hip hop wouldn't have born without our reggae music. So I just want to highlight that before you jump in.
Yeah, and also at the same time, as you drop that one in, because I was listening to Buju Banton recently, giving a sort of talk on his overview as to what is happening in the nation, and I must say his style as sort of, I wouldn't say mellowed. Uh, you know,
Maturity.
I,
He's mature.
what's the word you call? What do you say?
He's a mature. He's
Mature.
already
Yeah, yeah.
in. If you go back to when you and I were 20, 21, you see Buju, Beanie. It's a different. They're much more.
I think you got to speak for yourself.
They're much more. Buju is much more introspectional, which is a good thing. I think
Yeah.
he's one of the, not one of, he's one of the godfathers of reggae music, and
Mm,
I love to see him to sort of thrive and get his flowers.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, in the sense that, and I always say this, that you can always skin a cat in many different ways, and you can always look at Jamaica in different ways. Some will sort of look at Jamaica and what's happening now to say, as I've said it all a while, things gone to the dogs. And when I recently interviewed the Minister Terrelong in London, um, he changed this perspective to say that Jamaica is open for business.
Hmm.
And then I've been invited to meet with Minister Auburn Hill, who is coming over sometime in September through Jampro,
Hmm.
who is the business minister, who is going to set the stage to say, how is Jamaica open for business? So one is say Jamaica open for business was the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Junior, and now the minister is here. So now my next line of questioning now, okay, Jamaica is open for business. How is it open for business?
Yeah.
Also, I mean, it's everything which is happening as well, as you saw. I said to say, but before we go any further, what are you drinking? I forget this is
Well,
talking.
I'm drinking it's a Heineken Zero is what I'm drinking.
I'm actually, it look like water, but it's actually coconut water, but actually it's the one in the box.
Yeah, so not the fresh, not the fresh coconut water. Yeah, and I'm
It's
drinking Heineken Zero, which is
nah,
it's a
nah.
non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah. I like the non-alcoholic things and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for those on Instagram, Instagram is not open. Sorry, TikTok. And thank you for coming on, uh, and thank you for the comments so far. And also, Broker Jumbo, how are you, my man, from the States? You need to come into the show at some point. We've got to talk about Gabon and Niger, because there's so many developments going on in regards to that, and also those on Facebook and those on YouTube. If you want to join into the show, you can also join in. I can give you the link and the code. Uh, Anil, I set the stage because no, before I go any further, let's give our condolences to Alun Asamba. Her
Oh yeah,
son
his
passed
son
away.
passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, just remember that her son passed away. Um, I understand maybe from heart attack or so. So my condolences. She's a former ambassador
To the youth.
um to the UK, and also PNP Salwat as well. But a servant and her son. That Mark Cameron was saying he played at her wedding, he played at his wedding some
Yeah.
time ago. So yeah, our condolences to that. It's They always say that it's always for a child to bury their parents, but nevertheless, still, um, wish her all the best at this time, and her family at this time of grieving, and
Yeah.
our heart is with her. And also, I must say, for all the Jamaicans back home who have lost anyone, you know, you cannot never. What can I say? There's no. It's always difficult to find the words.
I know. And then just remind me, just tell men and women out there if you can, go get checkup.
Yes.
You get your doctor's checkup because a lot of these heart disease are can be prevented. So go get
Mm.
your checkups on a regular basis.
You know. I tend to have to. It's a good that we jump into that there, because as you know me, I'm sort of becoming a bit of a. There was a picture the other day of a dog, and they were saying, "What are you like in your office?" And they showed the person, the coffee slurper. They show one the fitness freak. They showed one the boss's pet. They showed all the different persons. They showed the one that always comes in, always calling late, and one always coming never on a Monday because they're out partying. So they're showing the dog in different frames, and I know sometimes people call me. My colleagues, I work with all female lawyers, and they always say I'm the boss's pet. But I do remember in school days, and I was the teacher's pet.
It's sort of carried on.
you know. But I do go out in the park and I do walk, Anil. And I tell you what, sometimes I miss out. Like the past 2 weeks, I've been so busy and I miss out a few days because time is the essence of time. I catching the time. And if I miss it in the morning, I go out in the evening. I tell you what, sometimes you might be really tired and you want to go and you don't go. But once you go and you burn that calorie and you feel like something has happened, You feel like you've burned some calories. You feel like you've done something. And my doctors always say when I was diagnosed pre-diabetic, and they said, keep doing what you're doing. They said we're still keeping you on the spectrum, but you're you're not on any medicine. And I recently went to do my eye test, which is a part of the diabetic thing, and they came back to say that I got a letter to say everything is okay. There's a slight cataract, but it's not anything of any major
Yeah, yeah,
issue now, But
yeah,
if anything, because the other day I was saying I could glare when I'm driving. I have to use the the sun visor down. And I'm saying, and that was like in the night, But they
yeah,
say it's a part of the glasses. But it's so important that people really go and check themselves out at this time. The food that they eat, and to drink a lot of water as well. And the other day I went with my men from my church to eat up. And I always like to park up. No, I didn't park far, but I parked where I thought the place was, but it wasn't there. So we ended up walking about 30 minutes. And that was 6,000 steps.
yeah.
6,000 steps.
And you have to. I try to work out at least 5 to 6 days a week,
Yes,
and it's the time to de-stress. Well-being is important, so it's
yes,
always good to take care of stuff. Watch what you
yeah,
eat, etc.
yeah. Well, listen, let's go to the meat of things. There's in recent days in Jamaica, and I, I could jump on it and say, they're my junker, like I was saying about this SSL thing, the SSL whereby this is a company that Usain Bolt is alleged that was stolen, and other persons are fraudulent, and this lady named Miss Panton, who is apparently I think she's in prison still for stealing a lot of money. However, the government is pumping 15 million into the company apparently to pay the salaries and apparently keep it afloat, because we were saying they wanted to shut down. And many people are just cussing the government in. I just don't understand. Even the prime minister trying to justify it, and now the minister of finance is saying that they have to keep it open. I in a way can't find the logics in it to say that why keep it open if the going concern or whatever is dead. Why are we pumping that 15 million in? But then I'm hearing from different persons and different auditors. I said, let me check some professionals, some accountant, and I'm getting a different perspective. Those who are not politically aligned or doesn't know and don't know anything about Jamaica
Yeah.
are actually saying, actually they could be saying the right thing. What's your perspective on it?
Well, I think like anything else, there's always a political angle, and one could look at everything through that lens. But if you're a rational person, um, you look at it and you say, you could sort of play it out two ways, right? Obviously, there is some impropriety, and FSC is investigating, and this popped up. I saw an interview. I think it was the prime minister gave that they're probably a couple months out wrapping up. And again, this is what I read, and these are all second, third hand info. But in normal cases, you do have an investigation because you want to recoup any investment that you could trace where those investment went, etc. So you could bring that money back to give to whomever the depositor, whether it's Usain Bolt or whomever, were impacted on it. So I just have to take the finance minister by his word in this case to say the rationale for making the payment of 15 is not to keep it afloat. So I think the word, I don't think he used the word afloat, Silver.
Yeah, yeah.
I think what they're
Mm.
saying is that there's no money to pay the staff, and they require the staff to keep the computers going to wind down the operation, right? So it makes sense if you're spending 15 million, which equivalent to probably, if you just do the math and say the prime minister, I think in an interview, talked about another 2 to 3 months. You're looking at probably about 300,000 US dollars.
Yeah,
Not a minuscule amount, but I think, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because if the government had said, you know what, let's just shut it down, there is another side of the coin that will say, see, they hiding something, right? So
yeah,
regardless of what decision is made, there will be people out there that are criticizing the government, right, based on these
Yeah.
decisions. In this case, it's standard practice across the world when you have investigation of this type, that you want to go through and fulfill the investigation because you
Yeah.
want to ensure that the people who are involved in this case are brought to justice, and if their
Yeah.
money to be returned back to the depositors, that is done, right? So I do believe it's standard practice. I don't see anything wrong with that. In any case, there's an example here, the Crypto King, where the whole operation was put into receivership, and the folks
Mm.
who actually investigated, they're being paid, right? So again, this is normal practice that I think the government is following, and the FSC. So I'm not sure there's anything there, Silburn, other than
Yeah.
politics, it seems to me, because it's just standard practice, right? For them to wind the operation down, and then make a full report to ensure that there's trust in the financial institution. And I think someone said it, when you just look at the totality of the financial institution, this is a very, very small part of that. But in a sense, you don't want it to be contagion, meaning you want to get to the root of it. And if there are regulatory improvements that need to
Yeah.
happen, then let that take place. Because if you remember, it was 1995, I think, that you had FinSac, the whole issue, and then regulations were put in place. And over time, regulations are updated. Now we in a new digital world that was not there in 1995 or in 2000, right? So now you have more monies that are moved through the digital component. So now extra regulation might now need to be put in place. So it's important for the investigation to wind itself down, so the government could figure out, are there extra regulatory framework that needs to put in place so this doesn't happen again. So I believe that's the case. Others might have other perspective on it, but it doesn't seem to me it's out of the ordinary. Now, if someone want to ask the question, hey, the prime minister or the minister of finance need to come out and explain to the people what's the rationale around paying, that's a fair.
Mm.
But I think trying to make it seem that it's out of the ordinary, it doesn't seem to me that it makes sense.
Yeah, that's a very interesting bit, because a lot of people are saying that because at first it was thought that this was uh, I mean, people also thought it was taxpayers' money, um, but they said it is money from the proceeds of crime. Uh, but the proceeds of crime, that money there, the question is who regulates, or who sort of have a sort of transparency overview of the government, because people are also saying that this money, where did it come from? All of a sudden we heard it, we all thought it was taxpayers money, but isn't the same proceeds of crime money that belongs to the state, money belonging to the people at the same time?
Well, as I read, and I don't know if you know, it's a private, it's a investment institution, which is a
Yes.
private institution. So it's not a
Yes.
government institution. And obviously there are regulations that they operate under.
Mm.
And as I said, it's normal, right? If you just look at cryptocurrency right now, the entire world is trying to figure out how to regulate digital currency, right? How you
Yes.
regulate that. And you see the issue with the company out of the Bahamas. I forgot the name of the guy now who is in jail, waiting prosecution
Mm.
because impropriety in that space. So I think you're going to have, as we move more to digital, the government has to look at regulation. So who's regulating? And I guess people are saying, who's looking after the government? You just have to have trusted institutions, and then update regulations as the way sort of do commerce changes. And in this
Yeah.
case, there needs to be a full report out when this is all done, and then the government needs to let the people know Now, okay, how do we prevent this going forward? And I think it's a prudent thing for the government to do, and the citizen, including the opposition, to ask the question: okay, so what's next? And do we now ensure that there's no other institutions like that in Jamaica that are having similar issues that we need to add additional regulation? So I don't see any issues with that, in my opinion.
But it is. Do you think that the people, in a sense, and those who should know better, have gone into sort of a maze or sort of twirl with the political thing, whereby politics seems to be the order of the day? Some is saying that Mark Golding, for argument's sake, the opposition leader, who is into that same business world, to a sense, should have known better, but actually is lighting the sort of fire, because we're in this political climate where we're looking down the road for a particular election, and everybody's saying let's change the government or so. Do you think? Do you think it is not responsible opposition, in a sense? Not that you want to put yourself out there, you know?
Yeah. It's not that it's not responsible or responsible, right? Every politician is going to have an angle and a lens, and they're going to take whatever bit they think that is going to give them a leg up to demonstrate that the current administration that are operating the government are doing X, right? So you always look at when there's, as they say, blood in water, you sort of pounce and you make it political. But to your point, the question is, if the other parties asking questions, prudent, you could ask questions, but you also have to put it out there and say, what are the things that you would have done differently? Asking question is fine, but as the opposition leader, say what you would have done differently, right? Put it out there, put your bit out there and say, if this happened under my watch, here are the things that I would have done differently, right? So let the people make the decision whether the current situation is being handled properly or they like his option, right? So put it out in that lens versus, the way any political persons will put stuff out there through that lens. And the question becomes, who are you speaking with? Meaning, are you trying to convince the people, or what message you're trying to send, right? And that's the bit that I'm sure I understand, because what we have to be careful is that we don't have investors that are looking to invest in Jamaica then feel that there are issues in our financial system, right? We just have to be super careful. And I think the Prime Minister was right to say, we have trust in our financial institution. And this is just a blip. We're no different here in the US. We have a bank in San Francisco that failed, that the government had to jump in and guarantee the deposit of the depositors. So it's not something that's unique to Jamaica, but as a small island that we're trying to attract financial direct investment, and then there are other options out there, right? We just have to be careful. We're not, if Silburn has money in the UK and he wants to invest, he's not now thinking twice to say, maybe I should not invest in Jamaica, I should invest in Trinidad, right? So we just have to be careful in terms of the narrative. Then you could sort of use a political lens, but at the end of the day, you end up hurting the Jamaican people at large.
Right. I see where you're coming from, and hearing it, but nevertheless, still, people want to say that it just is not adding up in a certain way. But what if there are more like other companies or of this perspective of this nature? Will they be pumping the same thing down? But I think you have answered the question already, and that's a perspective that I hope that people see or understand. Because if one listen to some of the key voices which are out there, I want to say key voices, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate you're not hearing the voice like what you're saying. And another colleague of mine from the UK here was no links with Jamaica, and giving that same perspective to say that it is very important that it keeps going to sort of ensure that the investigation take place. Because, as I say, if it shuts down, these guys become um, out of the picture. They become demoralized, and they are going to be an impediment
Yeah.
in the whole investigation process. But that message is not going through. And I always say that uh, communication, which is a key factor, seem not to be something which uh, key persons play, because in Jamaica, according to a political perspective, whether one is green or one is orange, then that is where the whole line of discussion takes place, which is very unfortunate. I mean, the the general secretary of the People's National Party, which is Dayton Campbell, recently made this utterance, and the utterance was that the nationwide station with Cliff Hughes is an incubator for persons going into the Labour Party, the government. And the recent one was um, Abka Fitzenley. And then a few days after, they shut up nationwide.
Mhm.
And then person were saying that it's an attack on the. Before they said it was an attack on nationwide, which is a physical attack now, which is the gun fire. But they said it was an attack on the nationwide for saying these things. And then some persons were saying, hang on a second, but this is freedom of expression. Is it freedom of expression which is crucial, or is freedom of expression with responsibility? Or it's now classified as this massive distraction now, which is in the place, which has somewhat take away the pressure of SSL into topic analyzing government transparency and distractions.
Yeah. Well, we just remember, Silburn, we live in a attention-seeking world,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Everyone is on some platform. Obviously there are folks watching us right now, but everyone is seeking attention. Whether it's, you have influencer, you cannot go anywhere, without people trying to get views, right? So if you sort of look at SSL, obviously that has to continue. I believe. I think it's the right and prudent thing to do and the most responsible thing to do. Now, that was the news of the day. Now you have a different news. The,
Yeah.
the, the thing I would say, obviously, I don't know the gentleman, but before I say that, the one thing I don't do, Silver, is criticize government official in certain instances, meaning because I don't know the bit of information they have.
Yeah.
They have information that you and I don't know. We could speculate on it, we could opine on it, right? But sometimes decisions are made and we're like, why was that decision made? Right. And sometimes, there's a reason, a rationale behind it. It's just that we're not sitting at that table having that conversation. So
Mhm.
with respect to the words used by Mr. Campbell, I think in general, as a politician, you have to be super careful of the words you use, right? And I'm 100% sure that he didn't. You can't link the two to your point, right?
Mm.
There's not a cause and effect here. Could someone hear the words and act? It could be. We had a incident here in the states, I think, a couple of years ago, where we had a congressional baseball practice, and that was the congress. Some members were attacked, and a couple got shot, right, because
Yes.
of words. But you can't then say you're going to blame this person. But what I could say, what I can say is, as a member of the public, you have to be watchful of the words you use, right? Because you don't know the trigger. Someone is just going to take it. You're not telling someone to go do X, but someone could just take it on their own. And
Yes.
the freedom of the press is an important part of our democracy, right? You can't have a functioning democracy without the press. And
Well,
I no, no,
go
no,
on, go on, go on.
no, you
Go
can't
on.
have a functioning democracy without the freedom of the press. And I think you know, I saw something where, I think the Press Association of Jamaica came out and condemned it, which is expected, and the Media Association of Jamaica. And if I were the gentleman, I'll go back and say, look, my words, yes, you could have a debate, and you could make statements if there's something in the how journalists are portraying something. You could make those statements, but I think the prudent and responsible thing to do after this is to go out there and say, I condemn this attack on Nationwide, and my words should not be used as a reason to go do X. That's the prudent thing to do, in my opinion. When you have, it's not a cause and effect, but it's within the same media cycle.
Yes.
Words were uttered, and then and something happened. The prudent thing to do as a politician is go back and say, look, I condemn this, but I saw something where one member had put out a statement and said they forgot the word they used. They were disappointed in the Journalism Association of Jamaica for putting out that statement. Why? Right? They should, because attacking one journalist establishment should never happen, whether it's in the U.S. or in Jamaica.
The interesting climate which is there, and Milverton Newell here, he's in the States. Hi, Milverton, welcome to the show. The incident looks like it was staged, and that is a narrative which is out there. And to be honest with you, Anil, whether it is staged or not, who am I or you? We weren't there. You don't know what is going on in the mind of someone. In law, there's a term which they say the but for principle. Yeah. But for the fact that someone said something and it affected the mind of someone who's very impressionable. I mean, I'm going a bit more away from the maxim within the law, but it's talk about that. But for they were impressed, the impressionable mind, and they acted. Some are saying actually because the head of that Nationwide network came out and said that this is what he was warning when the utterances were made, and he called the name of the persons, and it was like directly linking it to a certain extent. And I'm saying, wow, this is really getting into this sort of maze there, it's going to this maze, Anil, regarding this whole thing. And that is why I use the word distraction. And the big thing now I look at from a Christian perspective is righteousness. The whole aspect of righteousness in government. Who is telling the truth sometimes? They said 70 years time, you'll find out about the truth. Maybe Ashrag have the truth. Have you got the truth, Ashrag?
Yeah.
About, I just stepped in. Good day. About.
Oh, she don't know what the truth is yet.
No, tell me, man. I didn't know what I think I have the truth. I always have the truth.
No, the interesting thing there is, Silver, whether it's staged or not, who knows? It's like you have a lot of misinformation. The one thing I always say, look at the source. Really do critical examination of the word and the people. There's a lot of AI generated content. There's a lot of clickbaits out there, so just be careful your source of information. And I can't tell whether it's staged or not. You and I'm in the US, you're in London. Apart from someone coming forward and say, yeah, it was staged, I don't know. But the larger point still stands, is that attack on journalism is just antithesis to democracy. Regardless of what,
okay, I have the answer. I have the answer.
Yeah, regardless of what color shirt you wear.
Rosemary Binder said, "Seemed like a planned event." The GOG.
I have the answer.
One second there, Ashra. Seemed like a planned event. The GOJ condemnation was already written. The government of Jamaica is the one clamping down on freedom of speech. We're going to go into freedom of speech after that aspect there, wagging the dog. Ashrag, what we're talking about, we moved away from the SSL bit there and the level of justification. Anil was setting out the stage as to why it is important for a company like SSL to stay afloat while the investigation is going on. Anil can reiterate that after a while, if anything. But Ashrag, what do you have to say? And thank you for coming on.
To say what, SSL or the alleged shooting?
Well, let's go for the alleged. Yeah, I'm using the word in my opening, analyzing government transparency and distraction. Is this a form of untruth or some fake thing going on, or what?
Okay. Can I say something to you?
Well, I think you're
The
gonna say
other
it.
night, the other night, I saw I saw Cliff Hughes on TikTok. He was doing a program. So he had called in, alongside him was the Minister of Finance. Okay, before he spoke to him on the whole SSL thing, that's what he had him there for. I saw him going off on a rant. And the rant that he went off on was, and Mr. Campbell had said certain things, and saying that is so bad because it can cause persons to attack the media and all of that. I said, no, 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 that can't cause nothing like that. So what are you doing? When you're trying to build up, this is a build up to something. So I remember that I went to my relative at a particular television station, and I put it to him, and he said, no, I saw it. And I said, listen, something ever happened, but I don't know. But when it happened, we both texted same time. And I said, I did not expect this, but these are psychopaths. So what could we expect? I saw it. I saw the whole build up to it. Because what Mr. Campbell said was public knowledge. We know that all of these people who are coming from this particular agency or have been given particular positions in the Jamaica Labour Party. That's a public knowledge. And I'm not when nobody don't know. So how is that going to cause people? Because the man called and said, well, it's a feeding ground. It's a feeding ground for the Jamaica Labour Party. That's something that the public is aware of. So why was he going on at it? And then what happened yesterday, I said, okay, this was the whole issue. This is all about political mileage. This is because immediately after that came out, the Jamaica Labour Party put out a bulletin, and then the PNP had their thing. You understand? But I put a thing in the group, and I said that leaders, when I said leaders, I put in open and close quotation, for want of a better word, must realize that acts, acts like these can jeopardize the nation, and it can trigger things that people don't want to relive. So people must not, because of power, seeking power to hold on to power, not deal with a sense of security. Because I know the thing about it is that not everybody's having the same saying. Oh yeah, man, that is planned. That was planned. Who going past and shoot up a little old car? So that is that's the general feel, the consensus of the Jamaicans right now.
Mm.
And I'm feeling good about that because I thought it was ticked off somebody, and then it's going to start something political. But no, people are saying, because people are so unsympathetic to them. And whatever they do, they scrutinize and they dissect. And people are saying it's all staged. So that one didn't make it either.
Is this what I can see a couple comments about being staged as well. Attack on a car, the oldest car in the parking lot. I don't know how one can sort of scientifically say the majority of people are saying that this is staged. I know the Prime Minister, when he was talking about SSL, he said that the people of Jamaica want there to be this company to be investigated properly. I don't know if that was scientifically a test for that as well. Uh, how does one actually say that this was staged or not, or just deal with the simple fact
So
that a
the
car
fact,
was?
so,
Sorry, O'Neill, yeah. Mm.
so I'm not sure what people mean by stage. There was a car that was, apparently there was not a lot of people in the parking lot. The incident did happen, right? It did happen. The question becomes, is it connected to the language?
Mm.
Which hopefully not. But there's something I want to correct. The opposition party did put out a statement condemning the
Yes,
incident, right? They
that's
did.
correct. That's correct.
Right. And then apparently there was a employee that had an incident in February, right? And then the issue of journalists moving from the media into government, it's universal, right? The I think who was it? The press secretary of the former prime minister. She came out of media, right? So it's
Sandra
not.
Faulkner.
Yeah,
Sandra,
she came,
yeah.
she came out of media. So it's nothing. It's nothing. There's nothing illegal about that. Now, in terms of the cause and effect, I don't think Mr. Campbell said anything that anyone could interpret, say, "Hey, go do this."
Mm.
But to your point, some people could hear that and then go do something, right? So I think rather than spending energy talking about whether it was staged or not, right? These are things that should not happen in our society. And when I heard the prime minister last week on an interview, he talked about sort of crime and the type of crime where he said, people are becoming seriously violent, where simple things that you could resolve, by talking or other
Dispute resolution and all of that.
Right. It's turning into where you're killing the entire family or shooting everyone, right? So it's a type of crime that we've not seen in Jamaica. And we're seeing the lawlessness and the brutality that we've not seen in a long time. So I think we should condemn that. And the notion of and this is what always disappoint me, Sir Bern, is people just sit in their colors and just don't realize that shooting, if I'm someone outside of Jamaica and I decide I want to go visit Jamaica, that shooting would give me pause, right? Regardless of if it was staged or not, right? I have had colleagues who decide not to go to Jamaica because they have heard that there's crime in this, right? So the narrative is not just impacting Jamaicans and their livelihood. It's impacting every Jamaican. So we just condemn and stop using our energy about whether it's staged or not, and said, look, this is something that should not happen.
But before I go back to hashtag, let's look at a comment here, because there are a lot of energy being spewed also by the government side and by the opposition side and by a lot of persons talking about this particular incident and about attack on one nationwide or one newspaper network is an attack on all and freedom of speech and everything. A pregnant woman and her family, totally 3 persons were murdered recently. Where is the government outcry and condemnation? They are misappropriating their outrage. There are tons more important issues threatening the very existence of Jamaicans that they should focus on. Ashrag.
Okay. It is unfair of my co-panelists there to say that we should not focus on whether it was staged or not. You know why? Because if it comes, no, that's all. When you were speaking, I let you. I want to object, but I didn't.
But if you're gonna quote me. I said
no, I'm not quoting.
No. It's important.
One second, Ashrag. Let's only clarify.
I said we should not spend energy. I'm not saying you could spend energy on it. I'm like, there's other things to the person. So if you're gonna quote me, you have your opinion, I have mine.
I said I didn't quote you verbatim, but I was saying what you said, and you said exactly what I was saying a while ago. We need to spend energy, because if it is found out that this was actually staged, this speaks to the kind of people we have who are in leadership to have done so. It becomes very acidic and toxic, and it would say something totally different. So it is an important part of the whole thing that is happening. It is, right? No, for us to use, for us to we speak of crime, right? And there's something that we have that we say that when the head of the stream is not clean, then how can you expect the water running down to be clean? And if we're going to be on a platform like this, I don't think I should come here and pretty things up. Listen, we have come to a realization that crime is a business. Crime and persons who are in high positions and places in this society are involved and are instrumental in crime, and they're criminals also themselves. Okay, fine. We cannot hide and stuck our head in the mud, because the truth is there to be seen. Okay, no, when we have a government that says to you there are 6 persons, the Integrity Commission, a body that is put up to as a shadow to watch and this is what's happening, and they say 6 persons are in fact in being looked at as persons
Invest.
who are in illicit
Enrichment.
endeavors that have made them rich. Now, how can we not look at this when our prime minister came out, the People's National Party, and put it this way, let me say this from now. I am a die-hearted Jamaican, okay? Because there are things that are happening right now with the other party, and I'm so upset about it, not funny, because you have to come to a certain realization what is the truth of our politics in Jamaica. Fine. Now, if you are putting a gag order on us knowing who are enriched by illicit means, what is the little person down there who is seeing that they go, I call a scammer, I'm a top scammer, and I'm not anyway at all telling you that I am making crime something that is good or bad. No, I'm not. But I'm saying to you, until we can get to a level of governance where people can see transparency, where people can see what we call them honorable, we see honor, when we see persons with integrity, when we see persons who it is so blatantly in our eyes. What is that? The corruption, nepotism, green trucks that belong to whoever. We know people who are getting contracts that are because of friendship. So what are we going to hide? Why are we at all times? And I'll say it again, I am against crime and violence at any level. But let us be factual. Let us get to the people who are supposed to be example in our society, who are supposed to lead honorably, right? Honorably and transparently. And there is no transparency there. So when you have a government who particular ministers can't travel because of alliance to or being alleged, WikiLeaks came out and named the people. These are facts that came out. WikiLeaks came out and named particular persons who are involved in criminal, and these are ministers of government. So where do we go from here? Do we attack the small man all the time?
Ashraf, the point you mentioned there about the right to speak up on these issues, because of course it's a bigger thing, Anil, it's a bigger thing. Today today at 5 o'clock, my church, I had a discussion on honor, honoring men. And I actually was doing a research on honoring men, and honor is a complex and multifaceted concept that can have different meaning depending on cultural, social, and individual perspectives. Honor refers to a quality or attribute that involves a strong sense of moral integrity, honesty, fairness, and respect for oneself and others. And that is something I believe that people are asking for or crying out for leadership in Jamaica. And that is why they're actually having this sense of apathy. I wouldn't be surprised even in the next election that maybe people might not turn out. And then you might have a situation similar, again, like what happened a few years ago when 37% turnout, 408,000 people voted for the JLP, 305,000 voted for the PNP. And some of the key aspects of honor may include, I talk about integrity, respect, honesty, loyalty. And then the last one here, which is said, adherence to a code of conduct. Yes,
I don't get involved in things that I don't know. People make accusation one way or the other. Someone said it, and I saw an interview, I think it was 12 years ago, and they were talking about Jamaica. At the time, I think GDP debt ratio was 127%. Today, I think there's a projection by 2025 by the IMF, if they stay the course, Jamaica would be 60%. So the way I look at it is this. Jamaica is going through an evolution. There are good things happening in Jamaica. you see, if anyone who lives anywhere other than Jamaica and had not gone to Jamaica in 20 years, you will see a dramatic transformation, infrastructure there. There's improvement in governance. Is it where it should be? The answer is no. But when you start at a level where for the last 30 years you had lack of governance, you have issues around transparency, etc., that does not get fixed overnight, right? The lady mentioned the 6-person. Yes, there's a report, but just like here in the US, apparently you have to do your disclosure. Every congressman or woman has to, say, hey, here's my network, etc. And sometimes they put stuff that are incorrect, and they have been given the chance to update. So from what I understand, the people who want to report, they have been given the chance to say, hey, tell us more. We need more information. Now, if we decide to say, well, we should name them, right? Is that really transparency? Because if it turns out that, it was just an error, then that person is now perceived as something else. So we just have to be careful. And then we just have to be careful that the accusation all the time, it doesn't matter, right? But for people, sometimes it's where it makes me mad at times, because just going to Jamaica and just see things. Are there corruption in Jamaica? I'm sure. Are there corruption in the US? Yes. Are there corruption in the UK? Yes. Right. So we make it seems that Jamaica is the only place, right? And we don't highlight the good things that are going on in Jamaica. And there's a ton of good things that are going on. Is it perfect?
Name one.
Is it perfect? Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. No.
Ashrag, you said to name one, so he's naming it and explaining. Let him explain.
If you went to Jamaica 10 years and you go, no, the infrastructure has improved. The government, and again, this is where if you just look from outside and you throw a stone, it's easy. But when you have a country that is 127 debt to GDP, it means the government doesn't have no money to spend on certain infrastructure. Now it's a 70%. It means the government has 30 cents on every dollar to spend. So when it goes to 50%, there's more money. There's hospitals being, and this is not a color. This is just me traveling to Jamaica and seeing things, right? Are there things that need to be done? Of course. There are roads in the interior that needs to be fixed and should be fixed. But we can't just keep beating and say Jamaica is not evolving, because that is not factual. Yes, there's a big issue with crime that we need to fix. And it has been a big issue for 30 years, right? And the government is taking steps, and the next government, the same thing, right? It doesn't matter the color. But let's stop making it seems like Jamaica is this desperate place and nothing good is going on in Jamaica, right? Let's just stop that narrative, because there's a lot of good things that are going on in Jamaica. And the last thing I said is, yes, a lot of trials and tribulation in Jamaica, but let's come together and fix it rather than this whole crab in a barrel mentality that we have.
Yeah. Okay, let's Ashrag, Anil has set out his point there, and also Rosemary as well as your point, and Milverton set out some of the positive things which are happening in Jamaica. Ashrag, is there a positive thing happening in Jamaica that you can highlight?
Okay, he mentioned infrastructure. He didn't elaborate on infrastructure. You're talking about the highways. The highways don't benefit Jamaicans economically. It doesn't benefit Jamaica economically. The money from the highway goes directly to China. It goes directly to China. So I hope another highway you're talking about. Fine. You're talking about more money. More money for who? Because the fact of the matter is, if a country does not have any production or productive. We don't have any factories with persons who are in the hotel industry. It's all inclusive. Even the persons who drive the Juta tours, they're coming out and saying that it's not helping them, because they take the people in, and the whole thing is to keep them that way, and they don't come out, and they don't want, they tell them who to use and what to use and where to go. It's all inclusive. So when we talk about development and talk about money spending, persons who are putting in money are doing business, and it's going back to them. The persons are being paid minimum wage. All right, fine. So I don't know. I just wanted more information on where you saw, because you are not in Jamaica. You are not in Jamaica.
Yeah, yeah.
let me, let me
I want to address that point about not in Jamaica, because I just listened to a guy dissecting and dealing with Niger and Gabon and Africa, and he's in the UK, and
so
boy, he was really
so
going
I
on it. Yeah.
make sure. So this is where I said I deal in France. Yes, there are investments that were made by the French and the Chinese for the road, and just as the same thing in the US, where there is a set period of time where that investment needs to be recouped, right? Because the Jamaican government did not pay to put the highway in, so tolls, but there's a sharing, it's a private public partnership where there's a certain percentage that goes to fix the road, and the government does get a certain percentage of it. Each year it goes down, right, until the investment is recouped, right? The other thing about this whole thing that Jamaican doesn't benefit, if you look at the intangibles, if now you could drive from Mandeville to Kingston in 30 minutes or 40 minutes, it means it's a much more efficient transportation. Reduced fuel consumption, which goes right to your pocket. So it means before you have to go Kingston, Old Harbor, Maypen, and it takes you 2 hours, right? Now it's less. So when we say Jamaican don't benefit, that's not a factual statement, right? And this is where, just like here in the US, there's a route called 66. That road, every day that I drive on it, I have to pay toll. That money goes to a private corporation. And there's a shared agreement between the government of Virginia and that private. Same thing. It's no different in Jamaica, because Jamaica does not have the investment. Now, what the prime minister has said is the next leg of road, Jamaicans are going to pay for that road, because now we have the income, because our debt to GDP ratio is coming down. So when we make statements that Jamaicans are not benefit, that's not true. You could go from Kingston to Ocho Rios now on that highway. You don't have to go through that windy road anymore, right? So
Sligoville and all, yeah.
Jamaica do benefit. So let's not sit here and talk about Jamaicans don't benefit from it. And by the way, this is where it also gets me mad. I go to Jamaica. I was just in Jamaica. I do a lot in Jamaica, right? I have investment. I do a lot of non-for-profit, right, in Jamaica. So when people sit there and talk about, hey, you're not in Jamaica, I probably do more for my country than most people sitting in Jamaica.
Because when you come to your country to invest, you take more out of the country also. So it's a win-win for you. It's
No,
like give and take.
I have a non-for-profit that I don't take a cent out of the country. I
Is
give.
that the only thing? Is that the only thing you have down here? A non-profit organization, nothing else?
Yes, I have other investment there, but it's not investment.
Okay, fine. Okay.
I have land there, but it's not land that I do anything. Most of the thing I do for Jamaica right now is through my non-for-profit.
Thanks, O'Neill and Rosemary Brenda. I'm noting some of what you're saying here, and I'll just read out these. Streets are food. Jamaicans are traumatized. Other Jamaica that is. We always talk about there are two sides of Jamaica. Most Jamaicans cannot drive on these roads. The roads in their community are impassable. I believe the lady who wanted that donkey, I think what she wanted really was a good road, but she couldn't get the road, so she went for a lower level for the donkey. They said they are not benefiting. I spend my paycheck sending children to school. I think the question with this, because this is something which will always be, somebody just said you need to try and curtail her reasoning. She's very biased. Sorry. Ashrak, somebody just texted me a while ago because people are
Oh,
listening.
and they don't think the other panel person is very biased, but I'm biased. I am talking my truth, but I am being biased because I am not in sympathy with what's happening here. I'm not being biased
Yeah.
because we talk about the highways and we talk about you talk about all of those people who have suffered since the highway, all of them places before the highway that people used to traverse and stop and eat something and get something. And all of these places are locked down now. People
You mean
they're
like
not
faith? You
earning.
mean like faith? You mean like faith spend?
Like safe span, yes. So you're
Mm.
not talking about these places. So you're making the highways to lead to the resorts to the
Mm.
resorts. So you cut off the small man who used to sell the mango and the cane and the person who did the chicken and the soup and the pork and the whatever. We don't think about that, because you are thinking macro and these are micro. You understand me? So
Yeah.
people have to understand when they talk about economic and who's investments and who are persons who are there's a particular group of people who call themselves a non-profit organization in Jamaica, right? And I have to I am finding I'm getting something from somebody now for a blogger to do on them. Why? They are supposedly non-profit. So the poor little artists, them who helps them along and does the work for them and beautify and put in them at the hard work, they're not getting anything because they are non-profit. And you want to hear when you say the amount of money coming into this non-profit organization, this non-profit place, our hotel in Kingston now too, a guest house where people can come down. So it's non-profit. But just like how when we had this book here that's called Animal Farm, where they revolted against human beings, saying that they were unfair to them. We're gonna do this thing for ourselves now. And when they had that now, after the new law, animals are revolted. The new law was that okay. I thought you said when people saw that it wasn't as it was disingenuous. They say, "How you said that it was going to be different?" And you know what Napoleon said? He was the head one. He said, "Some are equal. We are equal, but." Others are more equal than others. So we need to get that. And that's what's affecting Jamaica, whether we like it or not. So who wants to be biased? I have to be biased on the side of the poor man.
Yeah. Well,
I,
listen.
I
No,
have to be
no.
biased on the side of the person who is not earning.
Yeah. Your point is
Yeah.
valid.
So, so I
And
think
as
Sister
Anil,
Bernard,
well,
because
Anil,
I'm gonna have to run.
Anil, no. Before you go, Anil, what I want you to say also is noting the points what persons are saying about the two Jamaicans and the whole issue being filtered down, whereby
No,
the
it's not.
micro factor can be uplifted.
That,
Oh,
that,
go ahead.
that's a real point that there's a macro and micro.
Mm.
I think what I'm saying is I am not saying that there are not challenges in Jamaica. There's a lot of challenge. I see it when I go there. What I'm saying is that there are progress that's being made in Jamaica. If
For
we look at
who?
it from if we look at it from 10 steps, we're step 2. So if we just look at it from simple infrastructure, the government just said, hey, we have done the exterior roads, now we're going to do the interior roads. So are there things that needs to be done to help the man on the street? Of course, there's a lot. There's a lot of things that needs to be done because there's a lot of Jamaicans in Jamaica that are suffering, right? But now we have to figure out how to help. But what I'm trying to say is that we can't sit here and say there's no progress in Jamaica because they are. Are we done
The
yet?
B,
No.
the B, the BPOs, the
I just
BPOs.
I just mentioned that there's crime. There's crime in Jamaica that needs to be addressed. There are interior roads that needs to be fixed. Yes, there are people who got displaced by the roads, and I wish the government had done a better job in planning that out, right? But now, how do we fix it? We don't fix it by saying that there's nothing going on in Jamaica because if you just go back 10 years, there are progress, right? And hopefully over the next 10 years, there are things that are put in place that the small man on the street, my grandmother used to sell in a market, right? So I know how people are impacted there in Jamaica. I see it when I go there, and that's why I have my non-for-profit. And my non-for-profit, there's not a dime that I raise from outside. Every dime that I spend comes from my pocket, right? So I just want to make sure it's clear that this is not a non-for-profit that, when Silver and I does stuff in Jamaica, this is not something we go out there and go raise money. It comes from our pockets. So I want to make that clear. But we just have to be careful, is my term, is that there are progress in Jamaica. Highlight the progress to say, yes, we're having progress. But guess what? There are issues that we need to fix. What I want to figure out is, how do we come together as Jamaicans to help that small man? We just make it colors. We make it too political. Revises, what are the solutions? That's what we need to do, right? Stop tearing down everything that's done and just acknowledge that there are progress, and we need a lot more progress that needs to be made.
Yeah, O'Neill, before you go, and actually, just bear O'Neill for a bit, because
No,
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 no. I'm not. You're going to speak, but I want him to go on to the SSL bit there.
no, man, no. Let me just address something before he goes on to that, please.
Keep talking. I'm going to move away for a second. O'Neill, take over. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
When I go downtown, I used to see some open lands there, and I see people put up some stalls and they're just selling. And when you look, these people come and they kick them off and mash up them stall and run them off. It's government land. Now, when I go downtown, know what I see now? I see a lot of high wholesales, big wholesales being built on these same open lands that these persons weren't allowed to use. All right, fine. Now, you are saying for me to, when I go uptown and I'm traveling uptown and I see these $800 million houses being built, and I see these skyscraping apartments being built. Is that what you call progress? Because who is that? Who is that? We need to be real, We need to be real in this country. We need to be real in this country, right? They took the lands down. When the people downtown used to go on these places, they broke up them stalls and ran them off. And now they gave it away. They gave it away, right? Just like when they giving away citizenship, people must start the truth. They gave it away. And so we know who were down there who could have used it and utilized it to help something for our family. We have to just watch it and watch these people just build these big buildings that they use for wholesales and storage areas, and then they treat you like second class citizens because they are no Jamaicans. They are no Jamaicans. They are higher class Jamaicans than you because they have bought your citizenship. We know what one of Jamaica, what you must know, is that you're here every now and then, but what you must know is that there are people who are in the real, who are out in the ground, who know what's happening. And I tell you that most Jamaicans are aware of what's happening. Most can't speak of it because of their economical state, and most who do, they can't. The others can't relate because they're not there. It's not a hand-to-mouth thing they have to think of. But a lot of unfair things are happening in Jamaica, and we know that. We know that. When you go out to St. Thomas now, that is the next big brethren. St. Thomas is the last of any place that anybody can own in Jamaica. And when you go out there, ask how St. Thomas being divided. Ask who opened up the KFC and the gas station. Ask who have the sand mining thing. Ask who, that is it. It's always either the government people or the 1% in Jamaica. And that is not progress. Progress for who? Progress for who? We had a market. There was a marketing constant spring, There was a marketing constant spring. And to this day, you know what it was? Oh, the market was an eyesore for the plaza that was being built. And people stayed at that market for years and sent students to university. And they took down that market, and the space is still there right now. Because they just wanted to get the poor people and who would that sellers come to them in the market. We need to identify where systemic social misgivings are happening in Jamaica. We cannot sit back because we are a little bit better than some people and talk about progress. But when progress is not happening for the mass of the poor, it's not happening. It's just not happening, and we have to face the truth.
That's to show that someone is saying, message from Tate, nothing is wrong with putting up structures like that. At least the government is collecting taxes.
I think here's the thing, Silver, is
there's
a lot of progress that needs to be made, and Yes, there are classism in Jamaica, and we all know that. You and I came from nothing. We pushed our way. Our parents did a lot for us. Um, but Jamaica didn't start on the footing yesterday, right? Things are not going to happen overnight, regardless of what we think. Yes, Jamaica need to modernize. The market up in Constant Spring, yeah, it's there. Should it be there? Yeah, the government should actually remove it. I don't disagree with removing those structures and put up other stuff in there. But the question becomes, how do you ensure you plan appropriately so the people who are displaced have a place to go? And that's what we need to, as people, advocate for the government, that when you're making policy changes, the people are going to be impacted. Let's make sure they have a landing zone. Make sure that if they're impacted in such a way, they have the money to be able to bounce back somewhere else and put the infrastructure in place. So I think there's a lot that needs to be done in Jamaica, but Jamaica's trending upwards. You wouldn't have a Chris Brown show 10 years ago in Jamaica. But guess what? When Buju came back to Jamaica, he showcased that the National Stadium could put 60, 70,000 people, and half of those come from overseas. And that money, the people who are selling at those events, they're making money. And now you had Chris Brown, you have Burna Boy coming down. So now Kingston is becoming a music capital, which 10 years ago, that was not the case. And you might say, well,
It always was. It always was. My
not in,
mother went to every show that happened. It
my,
always was.
my point is not in the magnitude that is it today. We're
The people are relevant now. These are people relevant now. Back then, when she went, those people were relevant then. So that's not a point.
We're seeing progress. And the more we're going to see progress, the more people are going to lift up, right? So I have all faith in Jamaica. I have all faith in our Jamaican people. Our Jamaican people are super resilient, and we're going to get through it. Are there a ton of progress? Yes. But if we're going to just sit down and highlight everything that's wrong with Jamaica, let's continue to do that. But I want to highlight that Jamaica is progressing. Yes, there are people who, are living hand to mouth, and those people, we should help them. The government should help. But let's not sit here and make it seem like there's nothing positive.
And tell me where the progress are. You name infrastructure. What else? Tell me where else the progress is.
I'm not going to get into because obviously your perspective is that there's no progress in Jamaica.
No, but if you tell me, I may be able to see it.
No,
Ashra, can I ask a question? I'm
not going to try to. I'm not going to try to play that game, Silver, because I'm not going to try to convince you that there's progress. In my opinion, there's progress. You can hold your opinion that there's no progress in Jamaica.
Yeah. O'Neill, before you go, guys, because I know O'Neill got to go. He's in the States and he's got a meeting to go to, and I'm holding him a bit. But before you guys came on, I was discussing with an auditor in the UK. Actually, he's online, but he's not gonna come on. And he was saying something similar to what O'Neill was saying in regards to SSL being kept open by the 15 million. And O'Neill, in a nutshell, can you just set that out again, the principle behind it? Well.
It's normal standard where you have institution. This is a private institution, and there are fraudulent issues that is alleged. So the prosecutors have to go through, the investigators have to go through. So it's standard practice, because the thing is that if you look at it one lens and the government say, you know what, let's let it shut down because it's a private institution, there will one set of folks that says, see, they hiding something, right? I think you let it play out and you get a report, and then what are the regulatory changes that needs to be made to improve so that doesn't happen? And then if you are able to recruit money, then you disperse that to the affected people. But I think it's standard practice. It's happening now in the US with the investigation into that crypto, what they call him the Crypto King, where that entity is kept afloat so the investigation could be carried out and prosecution if it's lead to that. So to me, it's standard. But if people want to look at it through a political lens, that's their business. But it's a standard operating procedure, whether in the UK, the US, and then now in Jamaica. Now, it's a fair argument to say, yes, the Jamaican government need to explain to the Jamaican people what they're doing. But, paying, as the Prime Minister says, the investigation should wrap up in another 3 months or so. That's about, 400, 300 and something thousand US dollars that you have to pay. But it's standard operating procedure because, again, if the government decide to let it fail, a lot of people will say, see, they hiding something, right? But what the Jamaican people should ask for, we want to ensure that there's a report and that report is made public. And then you also make sure that there's no contagion here. The other issue that we have to be super careful about is that we don't make the impression that the Jamaican financial system is not trusted, because it will impact foreign direct investment flowing into Jamaica, which will then have a domino effect on other things. So we just have to be careful how we frame the conversation around SSL.
Okay, Ashraq, I think I know your views in regards to what O'Neill said. O'Neill, it's up to you if you want to go.
All right.
As I always say, everybody is entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts.
Owen, you're the other person on the panel is evidently sympathetic to a particular party. I understand that, right?
Actually not.
I don't subscribe to a party, so you need to.
No, but hold on. SSL.
No.
SSL is a regular.
I need to pull you back on that point there. And this is I'll come in right there, sir. I think one of the issues with Jamaicans in Jamaica is that if persons think a particular way, maybe in a very objective way, and it maybe lean towards a particular party, people are going to say you think or you're leaning to a party. I can say that O'Neill is not leaning to a party. He can come out and he can defend himself, but I'm defending it right there now, knowing him for a while. And that is a sort of thinking that I always talk about, because we most times see things in orange or green, which is so unfortunate because you're now in this maze.
So I'll say this though, Ron. I don't know you. You don't know me. This show has been going on for years, and I am an equal. It doesn't matter. But my point is, I'm a born Jamaican. I'm a Jamaican at heart, and I want to highlight, because I see the impact where I have people that says, I am not investing in Jamaica because of X. I am not going to Jamaica because of Y. I want to change that narrative, and whatever I could do, I don't care what color people wear. I'm going to call, as they say, balls and strikes, and I don't care. I'm not a political leaning person. I've never been. I'm just an objective and a critical thinker. That's all. So I don't want you to align me to any party at all. I just call what I see, and I see progress in Jamaica. If people want to say that we're colors, that's their business.
Okay. Well, let me put the thing on SSL. SSL is still owned by the Coscarys and this other person here, because other person came on this year in ownership of SSL. I have his name written down somewhere. This is not liquidated, and it is not passed into the particular thing that you call. So what happened is that it's still owned. There was a particular gentleman named Chen. He was the smartest of all. You know what he did when the whole thing started? When this whole thing started, he went ahead and he confiscated legally three properties that Mr. Coscarys had. He I had his lawyer, and the lawyer said, yes, they can't give you your money. He has properties, and he went and he held on to 3 properties, right? Mr. Coscarys came out and said that it was something different with him and Mr. Chen, and they were having discussions and all of that, right? Fine. No, it is still owned by them. They're talking about keeping it open for evidence. It has been something like 10 months. 10 months. Okay, what kind of evidence are we holding this thing open for? Let us really be critical and think, right? When it just started, it never opened up and it shut down.
Mm.
It is shut down when it just started. It was closed down for a while, right? And they said that they're gonna bring down, they're gonna bring down FBI personnels. Okay, when not never happened, when people started talking, then it was said, okay, Mocha is doing it. We didn't really bring on any FBI persons because we think we have Mocha is efficient enough to do it. Why did you lie? Why did you tell us that FBI agent just flew in? I'm seeing the
Yes.
headline right now. Why did you lie? Now, between that time and now, right? A member of Mocha, the head of Mocha at the time, had investment to the tune of, I think it was 10,000 US dollars. And
Mm.
I'm not, don't quote me on the amount. And he had this $10 million Jamaican, and he had this in that entity SSL. You know how it was? It was put in Miss Panton's name. And it was when she was making the thing that she revealed all of the person that she had accounts for in her name, right? And so,
Yeah.
so Mocha did the investigation, and Mocha had $10 million in there that he was trying to not make people know because he put it in her name. This is something that is late. It is out in the public sphere. Okay?
Yes.
She spoke about that. She spoke about that, right? Now you have the same entity now saying that they're investigating it. And this after it was shut down, them still investigating. 10 months after now, you want to keep this place afloat because people exactly quote us and not get the money where they're paid. It's a privately owned entity, right? Mr. Croskeries and them and the other person who own it, them for to deal with that. You can't come to Jamaica now.
Yeah.
Remember, we have a prime minister who said that yes, he did get a loan from them, but he repaid it. That's nothing that was hidden. That was in the
Yeah.
public domain also. Okay. We also know that they had taken NHT funds and
All right.
invested in that company.
Ashra, we're gonna leave it there because uh I don't want to go back into the history of SSL, and I don't.
Well, don't ask them necessarily if you don't want the truth, because the truth is what is
No,
there
no,
to
no,
find
no,
now?
no, 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 no,
What
no,
kind
no,
of evidence is there
no,
to find
no,
now?
no. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. The truth, I believe, is a selective thing, as according to different persons and their perspective. Um, are you involved or directly seeing the papers of SSL? Is anyone here seen the papers of SSL? I don't think we
I'm
are.
privy to some
Okay.
documents.
Well, if you're privy to some documents, well, I don't think maybe this is the right forum to actually put some of these things in, because I'm not
But
going to.
this is public
No, no, no,
knowledge.
no, no, no. You say you're privy to some documents. I thought it was
No, yeah,
documents.
but no, outside of that, what I'm saying is public knowledge. And
Yeah,
I'm saying all I said just now is public, is in the public domain.
yeah. I
It
know,
is in
but
the public domain.
I think what I'm trying to work out is here, because I'm sort of I don't know if the right word is tired because of going around in circles. I think
That's it.
there's a
That's
point
it.
there's a point that Rosemary Binder said about the two type of Jamaica, and the ones which are for the rich and the one which is for the poor, and persons who are struggling to go to school, mothers who are traumatized. The Chris Brown factor is not something which is a good example of progress in
Thank
Jamaica,
you.
as someone said. And I think
Thank you.
that is something that we need to sort of zero in on. The government has set out his standard or his stage for how they want to do this SSL thing. The One of the things I was talking about with the money, which is found in the for crime proceedings for crime. My question was, that money, was that who is overseeing that money? Where that money was? It's like the time when Portia said, "We find money," you know. Um,
This is a red flag. This is
yeah,
a red smoke screen.
yeah. You see, when I hear that, at the same time, I question and say, "Hang on a second.
You start to
If
swoon. You start to go around in circles in it.
yeah, yeah, if people never push back and ask questions, the bit about the proceeds of crime wouldn't have come out, and therefore,
Mhm.
how are Jamaicans? This is a big question. How are Jamaicans holding their government accountable?
How?
Are the people for the government and the government for the people, or they are complete a separate entity which do their own thing, which many people believe that they do, because as I mentioned earlier when I did my discussion this morning about honoring and in the honor, there was a key word about code of conduct. And we all know at this present moment, the code of conduct has not been signed by the not the opposition has signed it, by the government. They have seen no reason to sign that code of conduct. And I'm asking the question, how are the Jamaican people and why are they allowing that to happen? That's my question
Systemic
to Jamaica.
separation.
How are we allowing that to happen in Jamaica? Yeah,
Stillborn, 10 months
yeah.
after. What kind of evidence are you going to find? 10
Go
months
on.
after. 10 months after. What kind of evidence you going to find? And them telling you that 40 more persons are on now. They have 40 more and they have a lot more people to arrest now. Don't
Mm,
hold your breath. Don't hold your breath.
mm.
Don't hold your breath. For these other persons who are going to be arrested. Do not hold your breath.
So you
Do not
believe.
hold your breath.
So what's your forecast then for this SSL? What's Rosemary and Milverton and persons Karine at the IORU? What's your forecast for the SSL investigation?
My forecast for SSL, it's going to end with um Panton is going to be stuck. Is going to be stuck with most of it because she came out in her statement and she said she was coerced by Mr. Coskeris to say what she said because he would have been behind her. He would have backed her. So she said it in her document that she put out in the public. So that in her statement. So that is not anything that is written in there. She said that
Mm.
she was coerced and told to admit to things that she admitted to, right? So she did say that. So for me, she's going to be the fall guy or the fall girl. You know why? Because the persons who are tied up in SSL are very big wigs,
Mm.
very big wigs who are like untouchables.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how I see it.
You think it is something going to be similar like the FinSac, which goes on for
This
years?
is worse than FinSac. This is
It's worse.
worse than FinSac. Worse
Oh.
than FinSac. That's what we have. We have governments who come and do things and time pass and it's supposed to come out of our minds. And, no, let me tell you. It is sad the kind of governance Jamaica has had. It is
Oh.
sad the kind of governance Jamaica has had over the years. Right? It is quite sad, very sad. Because they say the government that we have is reflective of us, of the society itself, the people. I am not corrupt. I don't think myself corrupt. I don't think myself unfair in dealings.
And
So they say
Rosemary
we choose who we are.
Rosemary said that plus even if arrests are made, no trial will happen. Panton
Nothing.
Panton is a scapegoat. Remember,
Scapegoat. That's it.
remember Andrew took out his money early. There's a difference between Andrew or Andrew. The person Andrew,
Yeah,
ANJU,
that's how we call him. AANJU.
not Eli. According to
So you
Andrew.
see, let me tell you something.
Mm,
If you follow what's happening in Jamaica, sometimes you just take your mind out of Jamaica and see if you can live in a utopia for a little
mm,
while. It will save your sanity. I did something the other day with you, and you got a little upset. And I really did sit back and realize what it was. I sat back
mm.
and I realized what it was. It's too much. It's
Yes,
just too
yes,
much.
yes,
Too much to deal with.
yes. And
It's
and
like
and let-
you're
yeah.
having a mental meltdown.
And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what it was. It was sometimes you get so much inundated with information from Jamaica, and sometimes
Information.
it's
Mhm.
and Rosemary had mentioned the word traumatic, and because I'm a person who do a lot of walk in the park and so much aware of my mental space, I try to guard myself from things. Sometimes
Yeah.
people send me a lot of things, and I just say I'm not going to read it because I
And I
see the
must
headline.
apologize.
Yeah,
I must
you know,
apologize.
yeah, no, that's all right, But we as Jamaicans, we've got to be so very mindful of the information that we take in so much because while we are messing, I tell you this, it's like this many years ago when I was growing up. There's a newspaper used to call the Flare. Is it in Jamaica still the Flare? The
No,
Flare? The Flare used to
I've
be
not
in the
seen it.
Gleaner.
No, man.
Used to be in the Gleaner, the Flare. And what used
Mm.
to happen, Jamaica was very tribalistic even more. And then PNP a fight, GLP a fight, the people in a fight, and then guess what you see in the Flare? Them upper Jacksil, PNP and JLP with them shirt open and a laugh. PNP
Okay.
and JLP,
Okay.
they're all having a good time. While the
Okay.
people down there are fighting and
Mm-hmm.
killing each other. while
Mhm.
Silas and Manley and all of them, they are godfathers and god's mothers of the same children and all interrelate. It's like they're
Yes.
all
And
in
they
it
go to the
together.
birthday parties. Because I see
Exactly.
birthday parties going on and everybody's around the tables. Yes.
Exactly. And at the same time, what is happening? People are traumatizing themselves because of the green and the orange. And that is why I always say we got to be so careful. And that's why I would O'Neill, that's why I'll stand for O'Neill, because we look at things very objectively. I am, through my history or through my family, affiliated with the PNP, but I'm not a PNP. And I always say that all the while because I'm involved with the Conservative Party in the UK. The Conservative Party is not aligned to the PNP. As a matter of fact, I'll be more JLP, if anything, if I was going to, as somebody pointed out the other day, but Silburn, if you're with the Conservative Party is more aligned to the Labour Party in Jamaica, because that's what, because Andrew comes over sometimes and we link up when he goes to the conservative conferences at the same time, while Socialist International is linked with the Labour Party in the UK and the PNP in Jamaica. They are entwined to a certain extent through Socialist International. But we have got to actually go through that maze and look at things from a high level to see what is the best thing. And as you said earlier, Ashrag, I'm a die-hearted Jamaican. That's where people need to reach
Yeah.
out. Die-hearted Jamaican, where like my good friend, a gentleman named Albert, he says he vote on policies, even with the UK. Right now we're heading toward an election in the UK, 2025, if Rishi Sunak do not call it before. And policies are going to be the key issue. The ULEZ is going to be the key issues. The boat people are going to be the key issues. The migrant. So when people sometimes say that, like with Brexit, for argument's sake, there's a quiet majority that wasn't saying anything, while not everybody was making noise and everything. But there's a quiet majority wasn't saying anything. And when the pollsters come to them, they didn't say anything. But guess what? They came out in droves and they voted for
Mhm.
Brexit. And what I really hope for, and this is my message, is for Jamaicans to stay focused. Stay focused at this point and don't get into this apathy moment that if you want to change the government, then you got to change the government. You might get this the next government, but they always say if you vote the government out, you get the government in. See, you never really get
Mhm.
rid of the government, Ashrag. You know that. You never, you vote the
Are you looking
government.
at the USA candidates?
I'm
I like
sorry.
that Indian man, the Vivek, the USA candidates.
UIC.
No, the USA candidates, presidential candidates
Oh yes, that
are
guy.
hopeful.
Yeah, that Indian guy, and he said he
I
would bring
mean,
in.
oh
Yeah,
my God. Oh my God.
yeah,
The man is just all that.
yes,
And a cup
yes,
of tea.
yes.
He doesn't need a script.
Yes,
He goes around all by himself.
yes,
He does his thing.
yes,
I think he's wonderful. I think he's a breath of fresh air. If they
yes.
allow him, but you know that they're not going to allow him. He's going to fall in the realms.
You don't think so? Maybe he'll be Trump running mate, if anything.
Yeah, because no, yeah, no.
You think Trump is gonna get in prison while he's in prison?
I don't think he's going to go to prison.
What did I say to somebody the other day? Can you imagine Trump in
Remember,
prison with
he's a Kennedy, you know. He's a Kennedy, you know. He's
yeah,
like he's a spawn from the Kennedy.
oh, the
He's
Indian
not
guy.
going to prison. No,
Huh.
Trump. He's a Kennedy. He's a spawn from the Kennedy.
He's a family of the Kennedy. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he's a Kennedy. He's a spawn of the Kennedy.
Okay. Rosemary Binder said, "I'm an advocate for good governance, fair human rights and justice, and everything done in the best interest of my Jamaican people. Jamaica deserve to raise their families and to thrive." You know what I saw the other day, since we're on it, and I'm just going with a particular flow. We talk about um righteous government, righteous leaders. I saw a a, a knapsack for school called Fully Duns, something called Duns. Did you see
They're
that?
sold out, you know. They're sold out. They can't get any.
But how can how can someone justify buying their child a knapsack called Duns, Fully
And
Duns?
you think that's gonna stop them from learning, really?
Let me think about it. It may not stop them from learning, but the psychological impact of a term, of a word, unless you don't
It's
understand
just
what
a
the word
song, you
is.
know. It is that song. It's a song. The
Well,
song.
I don't know the song, but if a song is talking about dunce, I know what is dunce. People call teachers sometimes used to call, "You're dunce, boy. You can't read, you can't write." I remember he never used to call us dunce, but there's in York Castle High School, where I'm from, York Castle, there's a guy named Mr. Liebert Small. He said, "Man, you can't add up." He used to teach maths, you can't, his mouth used to be so loud. But you don't
Mhm.
want a child to be walking around with a bag called dunce. I'm so glad that I saw another rival bag, which is called Fully Bright.
Mhm. The
Fully
one not
Bright.
about the one, trust me. The
I'm
one
sorry?
not buy it. The fully the dons you can't get any now. It's all sold out. So they have to be making more because the dons is sold out.
Can someone? I think that Dunn school bag was a Photoshop. Oh, somebody said they think that the Dunn school bag was a Photoshop version, but Rosemary apparently Hashrag is actually saying that
No man, it's not. It's sold out in Jamaica.
it's
I
bag
see
is a
them.
bag.
They're on the backs. They're on the backs of the children.
Yeah. Now, when you see that there, for argument's sake, do you think any well-thinking parent or political persons are going to be buying their children something of that nature called dunce? Don't you think that those in power, if they have an agenda, want to keep people fully dunce?
I think so.
When I was at the recent discussion on Jamaica becoming a republic, 1962, when Jamaica became independent, they say. I always say they say because I don't say Jamaica was independent. I say the process of independence begun. At that time, many Jamaicans were fully dunce in the sense that we never really, our poor parents weren't that educated that much. There was a minute sector of the population was fully dunce. And in 2023, we have children walking around with a bag on their back. Is it fully dunce or dunce? It said, I don't know. Was it fully dunce or
Dons,
dunce?
just dons,
Dunce,
dons.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
dunce. Dunce. Okay. All right. Let me just do a Google. Let me just do a Google and just break it down because we got to be careful what we're talking about. We're talking about we want the government to educate us. We're talking about that we want a republic. We're talking about that we want to be fully aware of what is happening. Yet at the same time, it's a retrograde step where we are going back to be what we were in the, what our parents were in the past, if anything, fully dunce. We're not fully dunce anymore. We need to counteract that with words, words of power, words of life. You know, dunce meaning this is what it says: dunce, a person who is slow at learning, a stupid person. He was baffled by arithmetic, and they call him dunce at school. English version here. Dunce is a mild insult in English meaning a person who is slow at learning. Why flies are bats moths are coming. I have my door open because it's very hot here. The etymology given by Richard Stanners is that the word is derived by the name of the Scottish scholastic theologian. Slow learning or stupid, fully stupid. Rosemary Binder, are you happy with that? Are you guys happy with that? My fellow Jamaicans, are you happy with your child walking around being called stupid? Now I'm not saying slow learning, and we're walking around with that. Rosemary Binder said, but dunce on a bag does not make one dunce. I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. But at the same time, I'm of the view that words are powerful. Words are powerful. Words is what we hear first, right? And therefore, it is the words that is going to be spoken over the person. Because if you're walking around with a back, say dunce, what are people going to call you? You're dunce. You're dunce. You're dunce. You're dunce. If you keep hearing you're dunce,
So
then you're stupid.
why didn't they call them Nike before, or Jordan,
Well,
or one of those names that were on the bags before, on the bags, the other bags?
because those words are very powerful. Nike is powerful, because in Michael Jordan and all those sort of person, these are things
Yeah,
of
and
action.
there are spirits behind those names too.
Yes,
Spirits,
yes,
spirits behind those names
exactly,
too.
exactly. But the spirits, you're right. You're right when they talk about spirit and dunce. Who wants that spirit behind you? I disagree
Well,
totally. I totally disagree. Anybody want to jump on it and say
no, I
it's a
wouldn't. I
word?
wouldn't purchase one. I wouldn't purchase one.
Yeah.
But what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
If young parents or parents decide that okay, the song Fully Dance was about the song back of the class, dance, whatever I got. I don't know
Yeah.
the song go, but they came off of that song. And if he marketed a bag and call it dance and people run the bite, I feel brand dance.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. But of course, those are the sort of influence that you do not
I
want
know.
around.
And it's negative. Yeah, I know that.
And we talk about influence. But anyway, that's
Mhm.
just my saying. Jamaicans, if you want to be on top of things, use the right words about us. Have you heard about this online C5 entry form to Jamaica? Effective. Whereby people have been scammed.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think I had something on it recently. Let me
But
see.
isn't this in England where I think 75 students have to go back to India because they were scammed too? They were scammed into being false admitted to universities in England, and now they have to go back home.
Is that what Indian? I don't know about that one. Is it?
Yeah, right, it's in England. It's in England, but Indians came up. Indians came up to go to university, 75 of them. And when they came and realized there was no admission, the person took their money. The person collected all of these money through however they sent it, and then he just
Hmm.
disappeared. It was of Indian descent too. So
Of
scamming
recent
is going
days?
on all over.
No, no,
Hmm?
scamming. No, no, scamming is going all over. I mean, one of the biggest scamming I believe in the UK now is this thing called ULEZ.
Right there?
ULEZ, the one that charge you to drive into London. That.
Because London now a country by itself, themselves. It's a sovereign state,
Well,
a
that's the
sovereign
city of
country.
the, the city of London. There's a difference between the city of London. There's a distinction there. The city of London has its own sort of thing by itself. But let's go back to. I just touch on this one quickly since Veronica brought it up. They say thousands of unsuspecting visitors to Jamaica are being lured into paying 35 US, approximately Jamaica 5,400 to enter the country, asking the new online immigration custom C5 form by unscrupulous hackers who have hijacked the Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency. Since September the 1st, travelers to Jamaica have been mandated to fill out the immigration form online. The C5 form is an entry requirement for persons traveling to the island with their residence in Jamaica or visiting. So that is something I think that it has been identified and they are working on it. I don't know if it is done anymore. Rosemary actually said, "Yeah, Indian students." Um, See you later, Rosemary. Um, yeah, the site was not safe or so. So that was it. But the other thing also, which I flagged up the other day, because lots of people are talking about it, and I've not heard any teachers come back to me to say that a lot of them came over. They said 800 teachers resigned or so, but they said a lot of them came over to the UK and they were having issues regarding their accommodation. Don't know how
Mm-hmm.
much. I've been asking questions about that, and I've been raising it with a few persons, touch base with a few persons, and we're just not getting anything. Sometimes people don't want
Okay.
to share whatever is their situation. So
Yeah,
we
because they'll be too wait a minute. They don't want Jamaicans to know what's happening with them after they left their jobs and went up there. So that's
exactly.
understandable. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think that could be the case here. But I want to
Mm-hmm.
finally leave off with the words because I went and did a little research about the power of words. And it says the power of words is immense and profound. Words have the ability to shape our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and they play a central role in human communication and expression, you know? And talk about expression. Words allow us to express our emotions, creativity, and individuality through language. We can share our joys, sorrows, hopes, and dreams with others. I'm going to use this one called empowerment. The right word at the right time, the right words at the right time can empower individuals and communities. They can give people the confidence to pursue their goals, stand up for their right, and effective positive change. Healing. Words can be a source of comfort and healing in the form of kind and supportive words. They can provide solace to those who are hurting and going through difficult times. Words also can be dangerous. Words can be damning. Words can be life changing. And that is why, I talk about the bit about words. Words have the power to endure long after their speaker or writer has passed away. They can shape the course of history and leave a lasting legacy. So my word for Jamaicans and my fully Jamaicans is to say that we are fully bright.
Yeah, I remember the Bible says that that life and death is in the tongue.
Is in the tongue.
Hmm.
Life is
And
in
then
the
we were also, before we were also socialized wrong in growing up. We were
yes,
told that sticks and stones may break our bones, but words can't hurt us. And that was one of the biggest fallacies.
yes. I used to
One of the
remember that.
biggest fallacies
Yes.
ever.
Oh yes, I used to remember that growing up in Jamaica, and we used to say, "Sticks and stones can hurt my bone, but words can never harm me." And then
And that was
realize
so lie.
that was such a lie, isn't it?
Such a lie.
Words were
I
the
wonder
one.
who coined that.
Yeah,
It said
there's
it said it came from England, but it didn't give me the person, but it came from England.
yes,
I was investigating it, and the origin was in England,
yeah,
but it was anonymous.
yes. That's the thing. Words. Veronica Tate, what did you say? You are fully dumb or fully done? I don't know. Somebody just said something. I think maybe they wrote something wrong there. Yeah. Veronica Tate just said you have to make sure you're on the right site. You need 6-digit code before you can access the form. It is safe, and they just did theirs at no cost. So therefore, what I'm understanding, the bit for people traveling, it's at no cost. Scammers, I tell you what, I almost got scammed today. I got a call from a group, a WhatsApp group I'm in. Someone said they're from the group, and they said they're having a meeting today. I said I can't do the meeting because I've got to be do another meeting. And the person, I will send you the Zoom, Ashrak. I'll send you the Zoom. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Let's send something with a code. And I said that
Hmm.
don't look right. So I just have it in my
Hmm.
pocket because that don't look right. And I message the group and I said, scammers, if I dare put in that code or something like that, they capture my WhatsApp.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Scammers everywhere.
So you see, I don't know what's going to happen with this cashless society. We're all going to be
Yeah,
poor. Anyway,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
nice seeing you again.
yeah. You're right about the cashless society there because, to be honest with you, really, what's going to happen is that if something goes down, dog them on the
Everything
supper,
goes.
dog them on supper, and everything. Ashwag, listen, have a good night. Thank you so much for joining, and I believe it's so very important that we hear all the different voices, the different sides of things, as much as possible. So thanks for your contribution and thank you for your service
All
as
right.
well. All
Thank
right.
you much for your advice.
All right.
Okay.
God bless you. Take care. Cheers. Bye bye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. Um, Thank you, Veronica Tate. Good night, everyone. Rosemary Milverton. Hey, Jenny Jones. Good afternoon. Good evening. And those on Instagram, those on TikTok as well. Somebody said they wanted to come in on TikTok. Tom, we sort of lose each other right there. It is very important, as I said earlier today, that the whole structure of government and the topic was about, you know, the way how analyzing government transparency and distractions, you know the focus on, as I mentioned earlier, as we embark on the quest to unravel the intricate web of truth in politics, delving deep into the realm of analyzing government transparency and distractions, we're seeing that if we are not focused, we can be taken all over the place. And I strongly believe that there need for this clear element of objectivity, where we're not swayed left, right, and center by green, by orange, or in the UK, red or blue, but we can see right through the maze. Some say there's progress, and I believe that there's progress. Some say there's no progress, and they can have the justification as to why there's no progress. Two sides of Jamaica, the rich, those who are less off. How do we bridge the gap at the same time? And when we look into the whole bit regarding the news network in Jamaica. And from my perspective, looking outside, one do not have the evidence, one do not have the fact, and we can only rely on somebody coming and say something, what the news is actually saying, persons giving their perspective. But the reality is that something is amiss, or something is up, or something is down, right? Our nations, or when I say nation, nationwide, or newspaper network, or whatever, incubators of persons. I believe everyone is an incubator. I mean, right now, I mean, in law, one of my colleague is turning out to become a judge. You know, you go to chambers or so. Everyone, they're incubators. They're incubators because they are training themselves to the next level. Maybe people are actually seeing now that, hey, by joining a major network, news network, it can propel me to be the PR person for a government organization, because they've got what should I say, proficiency on English, how they carry themselves. So maybe nothing is wrong with being an incubator. Maybe one look at it and say, well, actually, we are of the type that we can bring persons to a level that the government will be interested in them. It has happened with PNP, it has happened with JLP, it has happened with different organizations even in the UK and in America. Yes. So nothing is wrong with that. But this is how we go about it at the same time, And finally, the bit about SSL and the what should I say, how they go about investigating. O'Neill has said it. My good friend also in auditor has said it as well. It is very important for the company to remain so the investigation can carry on. But of course, many people are asking, hang on a second, how did we just hear about this crime of proceeds of crime? Where has it been? Who regulates them? Who are the ones that oversee the transparency? Where's the transparency? Where's the accountability of government? How accountable is the government? Have they signed the code of conduct, and why not? And why are Jamaicans allowing that to happen still? Who are the six for illicit enrichment? Is there the need, my final word, for righteous government? Righteous government, is that what we need? I believe that's what we need. Honoring men of honor. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Silburn Sidil. Welcome and thank you for joining me this evening on the Talk and Sip. I hope you had a good drink. And it's a very hot day in the UK. Maybe it's going to be hotter tomorrow. Every day they say it's a hotter day, and it's a hot day. Peace out and God bless you. And thank you so much for everything. And see you on Thursday night on my In Review, where we look at the written news and different things as well. And next Saturday night as well. Peace.